This video is a brief explanation for how to set up the cutting torch for plasma cutting. So when you're changing back from rotozip router cutting to plasma, you want to loosen this height jacking bolt so that the plasma sits all the way down flat. So make a little bit of air gap in there and then lock this in. All right, now torch is sitting down flat. Loosen the bolts, these two bolts, these four bolts, to take the torch out. Right, the torch lifts out. Now you're going to want to have the switch set in the yellow position for standby. It's a safety, really. Green is for cutting. You leave that on green normally for when you're plasma cutting, and standby yellow. Unscrew the shield cap, and you're going to have an electrode exposed here, which is something you'll change regularly, and you also change the nozzle, which is in here. So these are two components you're going to change on a regular basis, the nozzle and the electrode. To reassemble it, put the nozzle in first, put the electrode in, inside the swirl ring, and screw the cap back on. Now there's a switch in here, so you got to make sure you have it in nice and secure. All right, now put it in the holder. Now we have a nickel underneath the torch holder, so if we lift this up, you can see. Okay, we lift the torch up, drop it back down. We have a nickel underneath it. And the nickel is going to be proper cutting height for this particular consumable. Go ahead and drop it down on the nickel. Now, if we can set the torch down right on top of that nickel. Now he'll tighten up the clamp and the two top bolts. Just snug them up. They don't have to be very tight. You'll want to study the manual here in your cutting charts. We're using this 220941, which is a standard consumable. And the cutting charts are going to tell us that basically the standoff distance, or the torch to work distance, is a 0.06, which is basically 1/16 of an inch, which is about the thickness of a nickel. That's why we use a nickel underneath here. When you're cutting with plasma too, make sure you don't have to store the rotozip on that bracket. That's just for the plasma torch. Take the rotozip and put it in a safe place when you're plasma cutting.